Shalom, family, and welcome to Exploring the Motherland. African News with Garth. Date, November 29th. Exploring the Motherland is a show created to continue and promote the mission of Quest to Unite Africa. You ask, Brother Garth, what is the mission of Quest to Unite Africa? The mission of Quest to Unite Africa is to promote critical infrastructure and economic development for the benefit of the African diaspora and the African continent. We do this through our four main strategies: through medical, business, technological innovation, and cultural engagement. Exploring the Motherland will cover news developments on the continent that are relevant and pertinent to our mission. So without further ado, let's begin. Niger Conference in solidarity with Alliance of Sahel states. So basically, in Niger, they had a conference where they had different leaders, different people of influence, and people, different, people of different walks of life, explaining the initiative of coming together culturally and banding together to get Western influence out, to help them gain back sovereignty and have control of their resources so they have a promising economic future and can, flourish in all the avenues that a nation needs to flourish in order to be successful.
People are gathering in Niger for a conference in support of the Alliance of Sahel states, made up of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. It aims to provide support for the countries which have been cut off from much of the international community following recent coups. The Economic and Defense Confederation was formed in September last year. 60 years of independence, no roads, no water. The people can't find water, and water is the source of life. How can we live under a so-called democracy when there are no schools? People are learning on the floor. There are no tables. We think that times have changed. It's no longer the time to talk about democracy. The three coups came amid widespread discontent with leaders with close connections to former colonial power, France. There were also discussions on women's roles in the fight against imperialism and neocolonialism. The alliance must unite. All of Africa needs to unite. Women must play a role. Women are more than half of the population. It's not normal that half or more than half of the population are asleep when there's a revolution outside. The masses should be 100% engaged. All three countries have long battled Islamist insurgencies. God gave us leaders who are all visionaries, three heads of state who defend women's and children's interests. Women should reassure themselves. They should know that we have three heads of state that we need for their well-being, for their emancipation. The three juntas have spurned Western countries and turned instead to partners such as Russia, Turkey and Iran.
So you heard it, folks. They are in solidarity. They understand that in this fight for sovereignty and economic determination, everyone needs to be participating. So we would be able to help our people in Niger with initiatives in education, particularly for women and children, because they are vital for the further progression of the mission at hand, which is to acquire sovereignty and to acquire self-determination. And this other video will just go into detail because I like giving, you know, hearing from our brothers and sisters on the continent about what's going on, so you get a scope of and a more informed opinion instead of an article that was written by someone who isn't, you know, an African or doesn't live in the continent.
Greetings, families. Welcome back once again. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This video is the continuation of the Pan-Africa Movement Conference in Niger. Niger has been successful and completed. I've come out with two videos. This is one of them. The Minister of Economy, the Minister of Niger was there, and this was his speech. Please, families, listen, I'll be back. I'll put two videos together. See you.
These words, full of meaning and weighty with significance, come from the president of TANZANIA, explaining his vision for Niger. A vision shared with his peers from Mali and Burkina Faso within the Confederation of Sahel states. This has earned our three heads of state great esteem and international consideration from the peoples, and more justice and peace represented at the Niamey Conference on Solidarity with the People of the Sahel. This commentary is signed Abdelkubali. Imperialists, peace and friendship between peoples. This theme alone sums up the dynamic set in motion by the winning trio of the Confederation des Etats du Sahel, Abdramansia Assimi Goïta from Mali and Ibrahim Traoré from Burkina Faso, three leaders committed to promoting the international visibility of the struggle. A heroic and patriotic battle waged by the peoples of their three states, to free themselves from the neo-colonialist yoke and establish their sovereignty over the resources of their soil and subsoil. This explains the growing fascination with countries plagued by domination and injustice. The Niamey meeting, attended by guests from the four corners of the globe, is a perfect illustration of the admiration for the work of the Confederation of Sahel States. A march made of resilience, dignity and courage. Three major assets that are worth their weight in gold today. In Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso, this international recognition of people who love justice and dignity. With all due respect to the moribund ECOWAS, it's a long way behind us. Indeed, the days when some of the organization's leaders worshipped Niger are long gone, and with only 2 months to go before the deadline set for our effective exit from what remains of ECOWAS, there can be no doubt that the Niamey conference will be a great success. In view of the resounding success it is expected to achieve, it has dashed the last hopes of those who did not put much stock in the determination of the CNSP and its dramatic president to conquer our sovereignty. Full and complete.
Yes, families, after his speech, you heard something, or if you haven't, he said that 2 months' time they will be leaving the organization, which we all know is ECOWAS. So definitely they are leaving the ECOWAS in 2 months' time. And those cowards who want to be there, I'm not saying that, that's what he said, they should stay there. Anyway, the women empowerment, they were also there, and this is what they have to say. Please listen, I'll be back. Thank you for your time.
Conference of Solidarity with the Peoples of the Sahel towards yesterday in Niamey under the presidency of the Prime Minister, Minister of Economy and Finance, Halima El Amnissain, is still going on at the Mahatma Gandhi International Conference Center. This morning, panels were held on a number of themes, including the role of women in the Pan-African struggle, Mama Idris Omega's summary and Asko Jibril. It should be noted that in addition to the ES countries, some 30 member countries of AIP, L'Assemblée Internationale des Pupils du Panafricanisme today and l'Organisation Ouest Africaine des Pupils are taking part in this major conference in solidarity with the peoples of the Sahel. And they all have Pan-Africanism and the anti-imperialist struggle in common. With this in mind, this morning's panel focused on the role of women in the Pan-African struggle. In Niger, I talked about what women are doing in the Pan-African struggle and the fight against imperialism. And in the Sahel today, women are very much marginalized. And when people tell you that you're a revolutionary woman, people tend to see that a revolutionary woman is nothing but a rebellious woman. I've called on all men, all governments, to give us the chance to make our contribution as women. We have to recognize what women can do. Nigerian, Sahelian women are doing just that. Let's have faith in ourselves and what we can achieve. They play an important role in the battle we're waging. Insofar as women are present in all areas of social life. So what we can conclude is that we can't fight in this context without integrating lighthouses.
Family, thank you, families, for listening up to this stage. A lot went on. A lot of people were there. Wow, it was great, and thank God they finished successfully. Thank goodness, nothing happened. Yes, definitely they are leaving the ECOWAS. As we heard, the women, their message was powerful. I'm so proud of the Nigerian women, the Sahel women, especially Niger. Yes, because what they did, I said that before, I've never ever seen something like that before. But according to history, yes, that's how African women act. When they believe in something, they stand together and they make it work. I remember when they lead the men to the France embassy, when they said they are not going, when President Macron said, well, who are you to tell us to move? You are not the president. We are not going. The women lead the march with their brooms. Yes, they lead the march with their brooms. And what? They run away. They hide for few days and then later they run away. So yes, congratulations to the women. Congratulations. They did well. All of them, they did well. So we'll be seeing more in.
All right, all the news clips and articles and videos will be in the description. I hope that inspires all the young sisters and all the sisters throughout the diaspora and the continent to, realize that your voice is important, and we need to integrate and find ways to make initiatives for your voice to be heard, as we all are fighting for the solidarity and sovereignty of our people in the diaspora and the African continent as a whole. EU recalls ambassador from Niger as relations deteriorate. Basically, the Niger does not like how the diplomat, the EU diplomat has been operating in Niger with different allocation of funds for aid. You know how they do. They usually get in there and have aid and then use aid as a way to garner influence, but now that trick is no longer working.
The European Union has recalled its ambassador from Niamey, Niger's capital, for consultation in Brussels following tensions with the country's transition authorities regarding EU humanitarian aid for flood victims in the West African nation. This disagreement marks a further deterioration in relations between Europe and Sahelian military juntas. On Friday, Niger's transitional government criticized the EU for allocating 1.3 million euros in humanitarian aid without prior consultation. A government statement accused the European Union has recalled its ambassador. The Europe disagreement marks a further deterioration in relations between Europe and Sahelian military juntas. On Friday, Niger's transitional government criticized the EU for allocating 1.3 million euros in humanitarian aid without prior consultation. A government statement accused the EU ambassador of redistributing these funds to NGOs unilaterally, allegedly ignoring transparency principles and bypassing collaboration with Nigerian authorities. In response, an EU spokesperson expressed profound disagreement with Niger's allegations, viewing them as direct challenge to the EU's management of its humanitarian support. Consequently, the EU decided to recall its ambassador.
So basically, the EU was, um, allocating different funds on the auspice of this is humanitarian aid, but at the same time, they didn't do their due diligence and they didn't have any transparency in the allocation of the funds of these different NGOs in Niger, and some of them being most of them being foreign NGOs that the Nigerian government didn't believe that what they did was lawful and is a disrespect to their sovereignty. Again, sovereignty is the name of the game. Basically, sovereignty is just a fancy word of a country having a right to control its own borders, a right to control its own laws and regulations, or a right to control its own money, and the right to have its own natural interest, and having other countries that are sovereign to respect that sovereignty and to have diplomatic relations if they want to trade with the nation or want to do any type of intercontinental business between that nation, basically a business to business, business to government operation. A country would want to have sovereignty. And this is, a new thing for our people in Africa, because now for the first time they realize how important it is for them to come together and, determine what they believe is lawful in their own eyes, culturally and politically and socio-economically.
Hello and welcome. We start in Niger in West Africa. Tensions are once again escalating between the West and the junta-led Sahelian nation. Niger's military leaders are at loggerheads with the European Union ambassador and want the diplomat replaced as soon as possible. The military government led by General Abdurrahmane Tiani has accused the EU ambassador Salvador Pinto de Franca of mismanaging humanitarian aid in the country. Now, last week, Niger's junta issued a statement accusing the EU ambassador of dividing a $1.36 million fund to assist flood victims between several international NGOs in a non-transparent manner. It said that this financial aid was directly handed to the NGOs, therefore bypassing the authorities. The junta then ordered an audit into the fund's management. The European Union expressed its profound disagreement with the allegations. However, the Niger junta slammed the European bloc, accusing it of stubbornness. It then said it does not want to collaborate with the EU envoy and requested his replacement. The EU, for now, has recalled its ambassador to Niger for consultation in Brussels. Niger has been affected by heavy rainfall and floods since June of this year. The devastating floods have killed more than 300 people and displaced more than 1 million. However, Niger said it never appealed to the European Union for help. It instead claims that it would cover the damage caused by the floods using its own funds. However, the EU says it will continue supporting the population in Niger. Earlier this year, it allocated over $36 million for humanitarian assistance to West Africa, which also includes Niger's junta-led neighbors of Burkina Faso and Mali. However, Brussels does not recognize the military government in these states. These West African nations, which are also the hotspots of global terrorism, had long been considered a reliable partner for Europe and the United States in the fight against extremism. However, after the military takeover, they have all turned to Russia for assistance. and have forced the Western nations to leave their countries. Before the military takeover, the EU, particularly France, which was a former colonial power in West Africa, was sending resources and troops to the country. The EU had committed over $14 million to help to train and equip the Nigerian military. However, now Niger accuses France of attempting to destabilize the country.
So this sick desire to destabilize Niger spread through the repositioning of all the French DGSE agents that we expelled from our territory. They have been repositioned in Benin. I repeat, they have been repositioned in Nigeria.
Now, France completed its withdrawal from Niger last year, with its last remaining troops departing the West African nation. In September this year, the US troops completed their withdrawal from Niger, while Germany officially withdrew its last soldiers from Niger in August. How will this latest face-off between Niger's junta and the European Union shape up? Will this further deteriorate ties between West Africa's military leaders and the West?
Oh,
Now,
you
to
could bet
discuss
on
this
it.
further, we have with us Paul Maley, a consulting fellow at the Africa Program and the International Affairs think tank at Chatham House. He is joining us live
Good
from
afternoon.
London. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
Now, what are the underlying factors behind Niger's junta taking such a strong stance against the EU ambassador? And how does this reflect the broader tensions between Niger and the European Union?
Well, I think the key question is that the junta, of course, having seized power in a military coup in the middle of last year, and in which it overthrew an elected president, is trying to establish the principle that its role as the sovereign ruler of Niger, its legitimacy, should be internationally recognized. And the way the EU does not recognize the junta as legitimate. And so, as in quite a number of other situations around the world, when international partners, when donors don't recognize a government as legitimate, but they know there's a real problem, a humanitarian disaster, a development problem, very often they will give the aid directly to development organizations, NGOs that are operating on the ground.
Yes.
So this is what happened here. So this is completely standard practice, if you like, in international diplomacy, that an international partner such as the European Union, when it doesn't recognize a government, gives the emergency aid directly to humanitarian organizations. And one of those, for example, cited in this particular instance, is the International Committee of the Red Cross. So obviously a very credible organization.
All right, family. If you want to watch that, you could watch it. I put all the links. I'm not going to suffer to hear any type of propaganda from the West, honestly. Clever scheme coming under the guise of NGO to bypass government red tape, or so it seems. Exactly, Team Truth. You heard the gentleman. He said if they don't recognize their sovereignty, they're going to go in there anyway and give aid. But they're giving aid not to help those people, because if they really wanted to help those people, they would seek the government's approval and find a way to, do it lawfully with the respect of their sovereignty, because that's what sovereignty is supposed to, invoke. It's supposed to be a respect of a country's laws, cultural differences, and, again, as Team Truth said it, in a great way, the red tape, the government red tape that they don't want to avoid, the scrutiny that they want to avoid, knowing that, is this aid within the scope of what Niger wants? Is it in the scope of what they need it for? Where are the funds actually absolutely going? How can we record the financial, transaction of these funds? So, yeah, I don't really want to hear him talk about under the Red Cross, which is a legitimate organization, because it could be as legitimate as the West wants it to be. Because as soon as you say you don't respect a country's sovereignty but want to give it aid to to its people, then you are literally encroaching upon a country's sovereignty. And just to give a comparison, if there was something to happen here in the States, and one of these nations wanted, like, let's just think of a nation that's not in good standing of, let's just say Russia wanted to give us aid, and they wouldn't be having that, because obviously, if Russia said, well, yeah, we don't care about American sovereignty, let's just give aid to the African Americans and help them out, America's not having that. So don't like play the mind games of oh, this is under the auspice of, or under the guise of humanitarianism, when you're a humanitarian, you respect every aspect of a country, not only the people, but you also respect its history and what it's trying to accomplish. But that's neither here nor there. Next story. Mali arrests top politician for criticizing Burkina Faso's ruling junta. Basically, one of Mali's politicians, ignorantly and illegally stated that that a former coup attempt in Burkina Faso wasn't actually successful, and that they were lying about that. But I doubt that politician is telling the truth. And again, if you were listening to our live earlier today, how we were talking about the control of information, how important that is, and how having control of your own image and the control of your own news is important to further influence your people, to legitimize your rule, and to also let them know that they are working hard to for them, and also to fight back for sovereignty and solidarity.
A popular broadcaster in Mali known as Joliba TV News has been shut down by the ruling junta after a prominent politician criticized the military rulers of neighboring Burkina Faso during a televised debate. A journalist from the channel confirmed this closure took place on Tuesday morning, but they are still hopeful that the authorities will restore their services soon. Earlier this month, Malian authorities arrested and jailed politician Issakau Jim after he claimed during debate on Joliba TV that the military rulers of Burkina Faso had fabricated evidence of a foil coup in September. The decision to cut Joliba TV signal is the latest crackdown on press freedom and political dissent in Mali, which has been ruled by a military regime since 2020. In June, the authorities arrested 11 opposition politicians and several activists that followed the junta's decision to ban the media from reporting on the activities of political parties and associations. The Press House of Mali, which represents journalists and the media in the West African country, threatened on Sunday to rebroadcast and televise debate if the authorities revoke Joliba's license.
So again, this politician, took it upon himself to disseminate information without any okay from his higher ups, and no respect for free for release of press and public information. I mean, it's great to keep your public informed, but there needs to be a standard. There needs to be regulations. As a politician, you're under a higher scrutiny because you have different, sensitive information that could be used against the government to compromise whatever progress they made. So now they have understood that, to really, not only clean out, all the Western intervention, but they need to clean their own house and make sure that their own people understand that you cannot discredit the government or governance. Again, thank you, Dorothy Osborne. Exactly. You can't just up and discredit the governance like that without any consequences because you're a politician, you're an elected official. You have to go under a different scrutiny because you have secrets that you are supposed to uphold for the national interest and determination of that country. I mean, I'm pretty sure they took an oath to uphold that, but the junta is not having it.
Now, the second thing that happened is that on Wednesday, now the Western media is on fire. BBC, CNN, all of them are on fire. They are trying to create problem for the Malian government. So it simply means Ibrahim Traore just fabricated the whole story, saying that they are suppressing people in Mali. Respect, lovely people. You are welcome back to the channel. Kindly consider subscribing if you have not subscribed, and like the video if you are enjoying our update. All right, the best support you can give us is to like our update. Guys, today, guess where we are? We are in Mali today. People are telling me we should go to Botswana, but please, we'll go to Botswana later. But something significant happened. Two significant things happened in Mali, which you need to know about. The Western media is actually twisting the whole story. So you need to understand what happened. An arrest happened in Mali in regards to the coup d'etat that was attempted in Burkina Faso. The guy was arrested, and the arrest is in relation to the recent attempted coup that nearly happened in Burkina Faso, where this man went and gave money to the soldiers that they should conduct coup d'etat and destabilize the nation, which turned the other way. The soldiers play him. So on the thing happened on the 8th. The arrest of that guy in Burkina Faso happened on the 8th. And on the 9th, the Burkina Faso leader published the news. After publishing the news and things that all of us were taking serious, things that require maximum security attention, there is a politician in Mali who is trying his best to downplay the thing. So this is what happened. After the Burkinabe government announced the arrest and the seizure of the money, the next day on Joe Liba TV News, this TV station is a Malian private channel. All right, it's a private channel in Mali. On the next day, during a program on that TV channel, the politician whose name is Ndim, or let me say Isakao Ndim, has criticized the Burkina Faso leadership. He criticized them and criticized the leader of Burkina Faso, and with a claim that their announcement of seized funds was questionable, and he's saying that the destabilization plot that they were publishing to the public might have been fabricated by the leader of Burkina Faso. So it simply means Ibrahim Traore just fabricated the whole story. That's what this guy said on air to the whole world. This guy is a politician. Under the former regime, this guy is one of the people that were part of the looting, and working with France to loot the nation and all that. Under those regimes, so when the transitional government came on board, this guy in Mali particularly have been one of the voices in Mali against the Malian government. The withdrawal of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso from ECOWAS, this guy has been against it, voicing even now, before his arrest, voicing out loudly against it, that it is not just for them to come out of ECOWAS. So he has been criticizing the government on several occasions. But the Malian government, unlike how the Western media is publishing them that they are adopting people and arresting people who criticize them, no, they exercise patience for this guy. But this one was out of order. So in response, the Burkina Faso's media regulator, the Higher Council for Communication, took action immediately. What they did was that on November 12th, they urged the Malian authority to address the comment made by this man, this Malian politician, because his remark on the state television is harmful to the credibility of Burkina Faso's government. And they added also that his statement lacked evidence and it undermined the seriousness of this coup attempt that all of us are taking serious. If this guy is not part of France agent, I don't know. Then before he could close the eyes and open it, he forgot that he was not dealing with the democratic leadership. He's dealing with a military leader. Or they came and picked him straight. So he's been arrested. That is the first thing that happened there. He's been arrested and they are going to prosecute him, and whatever will happen, I'll follow into detail and bring you updates. So make sure you subscribe. Now, the second thing that happened, some of the politicians in Mali, they are trying to create problem for the Malian government. And when they are doing these things and the Western media is twisting the whole thing, this arrest that happened that I want to talk about, the first news, the Western media is saying that they are suppressing people in Mali. He was arrested for criticizing the Burkina Faso leader, blah, blah, blah. Forget them. That's what they do. Now, the second thing that happened is that on Wednesday, the Prime Minister of Mali, who is a civilian, and the name is it Chogel? Maiga. He was removed from office after criticizing the military leader for delaying the presidential election which is originally scheduled for 2024. Some of these politicians have been giving pressure to the Malian authority to fast forward the election, because it is under the democratic regime that looting happened. They are no longer getting those shares. That is why they are processing the election to happen quick. And the Malian authority also is saying that, look, we need to make sure that our country is safe, secure, before we can be talking about election. It is not about having election, but having a good leadership and having a freedom for ourselves. We need to free ourselves first before talking about doing other things. They are not understanding. So he went on state television, and on the broadcast, he criticized the Malian authority for delaying the election. Then, in response, the authority did just as they're supposed to do. They dismissed him, and it was announced in a presidential decree issued by General Assimi Goïta, the Mali's leader. And he was quickly replaced by another person called General Abdoulaye Maiga. And this new prime minister is practically a military man. So for clarity, the name of the new one is Abdoulaye Maiga. The old one is Choguel Maiga. But the old one is a civilian, and this one is a military. So they use the military guy to replace him quickly. And somebody would think that they are related. They are not related. According to report, both of them are not related. And the amazing thing right now is that this particular appointment places all three branches of Mali's transitional government, which are the presidency, the National Transitional Council, and this council is the same council that is acting as the legislative body. And the third one, which is the prime minister's office, all of these three bodies are now firmly under the military rule. Because you see what is happening in the Sahel, we need honest people that can understand the situation and follow. Now the Western media is on fire. BBC, CNN, all of them are on fire. They are saying that the Mali military leader is trying to surround himself with military body so that he can be in power for long. That is what they are propagating out there. It is not true. This is what happened. These guys are trying to become problem. That is why that guy was arrested and this one was replaced. Because this new prime minister in question, which was used to replace the old civilian prime minister, has held several key roles under this military leadership, including Minister of Territorial Administration, government spokesperson, and deputy prime minister. And he has several roles also that he's playing in this country and under this government. So it is not as if they capture some one military guy and then place him there. No, he's already in the system. So these are the two key things that happen in Mali. I don't know, your opinion about this might be different. I want to know in the comment. If you are enjoying our update, kindly support us by subscribing and liking the video. Respect.
So there you have it, family. They understand that, propaganda is a way that the West destabilizes countries. Democracy is a way they use politicians and civilians to do their bidding, and Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are not having it. They understand they need to really clean out their own house and literally make sure that there is, solidarity again. There's solidarity for what the mission is and what the country is pressing forward. And they all understand also that Mali understands that it was not a good look for their politician to criticize Ibrahim Traore, a president, a leader, a government official that is in partnership with them, who they all came together to trust to create an initiative to secure borders and to stimulate economic growth for the benefit of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. They're not playing with that. They understand that they can't have politicians making false claims without any evidence. They understand also that these different politicians who are criticizing them also are trying to undermine the progress that the Alliance of Sahel states has made. So this is what we all continue to support. We continue to support that they are coming together and in solidarity to create initiatives culturally that make security, sovereignty, and control of information a very serious thing, so they can continue the fight for self-determination and, economic development and critical infrastructure. It's been a long morning, but thank you for bearing with me and thank you for joining. Okay, ECOWAS to set formalized departure of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Again, earlier this morning, we spoke about that briefly, how ECOWAS is, really taking a hit to their legitimacy as other countries see the progress the Alliance of Sahel states is making. And, ECOWAS thought that, hey, this isn't going to be successful. They thought that, they could rein back Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso back to ECOWAS, but, the AES just continues to make it clear and plain that they no longer want to do anything with ECOWAS. ECOWAS has failed them in the main initiatives of, stopping jihadists and securing borders and allowing them to, have freedom of their own resources and sovereignty. I know I've been saying sovereignty so many times, but it's important.
As months have passed, it is becoming increasingly evident that ECOWAS underestimated the resilience of these nations. In fact, ECOWAS has now found itself in the precarious position of pleading with these countries to reconsider their decision. High-profile envoys, including Senegal's newly elected president, Diomaye Faye, have been dispatched to negotiate their return. But AES states remain unwavering in their stance, signaling a tectonic shift in regional dynamics. The fallout from this bold decision has created an unprecedented division within ECOWAS itself. According to reliable sources, two distinct factions have emerged within the organization. One faction advocates for an official acknowledgement of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger's withdrawal, respecting their unequivocal decision to chart their own path. The other faction, however, is pushing for more time to exhaust all possible avenues for dialogue and negotiation, reflecting a reluctance to fully accept this seismic political realignment. This divergence reveals the intricate challenges ECOWAS faces in responding to the AES withdrawal. For some member states, the loss of these countries raises pressing concerns about regional stability, prompting a desire to keep lines of communication open with the AES. For others, respecting the sovereignty of the withdrawing nations takes precedence, suggesting that ECOWAS must accept their decision as final. The ramifications of this split are profound. Politically, the departure of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger has weakened the unity of ECOWAS, casting doubt on its future cohesion. You see, all these started when on January 28, 2024, the military leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic took a historic and decisive step by announcing their immediate withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. This bold and assertive decision was accompanied by strong accusations against the regional bloc, which they alleged had imposed inhumane sanctions on their nations in an attempt to reverse the military coups that brought their governments to power. The announcement signaled a significant shift in West Africa's political and economic landscape, highlighting a growing divide between the Sahel nations and the rest of the bloc. In a coordinated broadcast aired simultaneously on the state television networks of the three countries, the leaders declared, "We have decided in complete sovereignty on the immediate withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS." This decision, they emphasized, was grounded in their belief that ECOWAS had strayed from its original purpose. They accused the bloc of abandoning the ideals of its founding fathers and betraying the principles of Pan-Africanism, which had inspired its creation nearly 50 years ago. The joint statement went further, alleging that ECOWAS had fallen under the undue influence of foreign powers, transforming it into a tool for external interests. Under the influence of foreign powers, betraying its founding principles, ECOWAS has become a threat to its member states and its populations whose happiness it is supposed to ensure, the statement read. The leaders argued that the bloc had failed to act in the interest of its member states, instead prioritizing the demands of former colonial powers over the welfare of the West African people. ECOWAS responded to the announcement with a statement that rejected the validity of the withdrawal, claiming that it had not been formally notified. According to ECOWAS, its protocol stipulates that any withdrawal requires a formal notice and a one-year waiting period before taking effect. Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali remain important members of the community, and the authority remains committed to finding a negotiated solution to the political impasse, the statement read. This reaction underscored the bloc's reluctance to lose 3 of its most significant member states and reflected its hope for a resolution to the deepening crisis. Once regarded as West Africa's foremost political and regional authority, ECOWAS has seen its credibility severely undermined in recent years. This decline became glaringly evident during the Niger crisis of 2023, when the democratically elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, was ousted in a military coup. The coup, which enjoyed widespread support among Niger's citizens, was met with harsh condemnation from ECOWAS. However, the bloc's response, marked by sanctions, threats of military intervention.
All right, the link for that video is provided in the description. So yes, family, ECOWAS has egg on its face. They thought, hey, they'll come back eventually, but, all their plots and schemes failed, having their politicians failed, all their tactics have failed. Our people are waking up. They understand now. We're rising. It's a beautiful thing to see. And here, this brother always has good information and insight. Make Africa great again, or make Africa great, I believe. He further expounds upon what this means and what's happening.
Separation.
One love, go Africa.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my dear kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, dear colleagues, dear friends in the continent, and to those who are in the diaspora. Let me salute you in
The channel is Make Africa Great.
the name of Pan-Africanism. The withdrawal of Alliance of Sahel States countries, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso has caused a dilemma in the ECOWAS. So ECOWAS is now facing a major dilemma. So the official withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, founding members of the Alliance of Sahel States, scheduled for 24th January 2025, is causing divergence of views within the regional organization of ECOWAS. There are those who believe that these countries should be given more time to rethink, to return to the ECOWAS, but other countries believe that these countries should be respected. The decision that have taken by these countries should be respected. So let us allow these countries to leave the organization. So these divergences reflect the complex issues related to the separation. On the one hand, some ECOWAS member states fear the consequences open dialogue with the Alliance of Sahel State countries. And of course, on the other hand, other states believes that respect for the sovereignty of the member states require accepting their decision. So you see that now ECOWAS are still believing, some member of ECOWAS still believing that these countries should be given more time to rethink on the turn to the ECOWAS community. But all in all, these countries are already expressed that they are not going back to ECOWAS because it looks like ECOWAS is the agents of Western countries. So, but at the same time, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu is heading to France on this Wednesday for a historical state visit, the first by a Nigerian leader to Paris in 24 years. So, in 2023, Nigeria has established itself as France's top trading partner in Africa, ahead of South Africa, Ivory Coast, and Angola. So President Tinubu, who is also the chairman of ECOWAS, is in Paris, where he will meet with President Macron to discuss some issues concerning trading partnership with Nigeria and the situation in ECOWAS countries. And you know very well that Macron wants to have influence in ECOWAS countries. But all in all, let us see what will happen. We'll share some updates according to the way we get some information from President Tinubu's official visit to France. So, kings and queens, that is what is going on in West Africa. So, my dear kings and queens, just sharing this update from.
All right, link is in the description box. And again, this is what you like to see. Cynthia says, we have to find our own acronym. Too close to MAGA. Give me a minute. I'll think of one. Honestly, I kind of agree to disagree because I like that we could just troll them and use their own acronym against them. But, that's teach his own. One story that I did not plan on sharing and literally is just live news. Give me 1 second. Chad ends a defense cooperation agreement with France, its former colonial ruler. Chad's government is ending a defense cooperation agreement with France, its former colonial ruler, to redefine redefine the nation's sovereignty. This decision marks a historic turning point after the Central African nation gained independence more than 6 decades ago. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Abderrahmane Kololamala said in a statement Thursday. It said the decision to end agreement would allow Chad to redefine its strategic partnerships in line with national priorities. Oh my gosh. You see a reoccurring theme, family? Everyone wants to redefine their borders and their national sovereignty to help their people. This is amazing. It's just going to continue to grow, and the West is just going to continue to squirm and falter. As we continue to see these current events and news developments, we see that there is an overarching theme that Africa is done with the West, and our brothers and sisters are waking up and they want to do strategic partnerships that benefit them. And this is what we are here at Quest Unite Africa for. This is what we want to do. We want to work together to create strategic partnerships that benefit our people, primarily in economic development and critical infrastructure. And yes, Sister Jewel Hill, Chad is waking up. And there will be more nations waking up. This is some interesting, exciting times we are in. And I just want our family to realize, to have an awareness of what's going on in the world and how, our Father in heaven is moving upon our behalf, and how we should shift our focus on what's going on in the continent and all these other news developments, to know that we are going to become a nation again, and we are going to be back in our land, and we are going to be working together with our family, and to realize that whatever you once thought about, whatever goals you had here in the throughout the diaspora, whether it be in Europe or America or where else you're at, realize that all of that stuff that they wanted us to focus on is diminishing, and our voices are important, and we need to use our voices to further support this effort for our sovereignty as a diaspora and as Africans outside of Africa. And we are returning back to our ways, and our voices are being heard, and we need to come and step up to the plate and continue to support that mission. So, family, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your Shabbat, and I am out. Shalom.